we're talking a lot about relationships, and I thought we'd just take some time out right now to look at some of the questions that you guys have been asking through our Facebook page. And so I've asked Daniel and Jacquelyn, who are both singles, to come, and we're going to talk about some of these questions that you've asked. Well, the first one, guys, that I'd like to throw at you would be, what are some of the challenges that you really face as a single person?
That's a great question, Kim. I think one of the biggest challenges I face personally, and I can't speak for Jacquelyn, of course, is the pressure to feel like I need to be dating, that there's something wrong with me if I'm not married, and that I'm just missing out, and that I need to be dating for the sake of finding somebody. And oftentimes I think that leads to a desire in me to date for the sake of dating, which obviously you don't want to do. You want to find the right person, not just find a person. So I don't know. What do you think, Jacquelyn?
So if somebody asks you, well, have you had a date? You can say, yeah, I had a date. You've kind of checked it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think the same thing. And I have, especially, I feel like it's more pressure for a woman, because a lot of girls that are married or engaged or in a serious relationship are always, just asking why I'm not dating someone, or, what happened or what went wrong with, whoever I've been dating previously. And it's just like this quest, I feel like. And I feel like other people are more worried about it than I am.
So do you ever feel like it's like people think there's something wrong with me because I'm not dating somebody?
Yeah, I would say so. And luckily I have really good parents, and so they always tell me like how proud they are that I am not one of those people that just like jumps from relationship to relationship and uses that to fulfill myself. But yeah, sometimes I do feel like, I don't know, do you think that?
Yeah, I think so too. I also have really awesome parents who are really supportive in that, but it's hard to not feel that pressure from being in a church context as well. Yeah. I think the Christian church today often kind of has that, when are you going to get married? When are you going to get married push? So that's definitely a challenge.
Both of you guys talking about your parents, that's a really good point, because like when I do premarital counseling or marriage counseling, I talk to people about having the support of people that mean something to them. So I think it applies in the single life too, to have people that encourage you in the stand you're making or the direction that you're taking, and people that love you and encourage you in that. So that's a great idea, and I think it's something that everyone could take advantage of.
Cool. Yeah.
So if you were going to date, where are you going to find healthy people?
You tell us.
Obviously, we don't know. No, I don't know. What do you think, Jacquelyn?
I think one of the most important things is to just be involved and have a full life, and you'll meet people naturally through doing things. If all you're doing is going to work and going home and watching TV, no one's gonna like show up at your doorstep ringing the doorbell. But if you have hobbies and are involved in a lot of groups of friends and things like that, then you will meet people. And another good way is through friends. Sometimes it might get annoying when they try to set you up, but they have your best interest at heart usually. So. Yeah,
I think that a lot of times I have friends who look for people at bars and clubs. They say, let's go see if, we can see some good women at the bar or at the club. And yeah, I've never seen that work out for them. So they've been in many relationships, and a lot of which I wouldn't qualify as healthy relationships that I want to be a part of. So I think being in a Christian community, like a church, or maybe even here on this Facebook page, I don't know, something like that, where people are of a like mind and have similar spiritual goals as you do. I think that's really important to me.
Yeah, I think you guys make really good points as far as just kind of being out there, and I've heard a lot of singles say that they finally found someone that maybe they just observed someone, maybe they were in the same group together, or maybe they went to church with them, but where they observe them, and even on our life page, on our Awesome Marriage page, it's easy to see sometimes people that are real consistent with the comments they make, and they're really, you can really tell this person really gets it. They know what it's like to be single, and they know how to live a healthy single life. So kind of observing someone before you take that step to maybe start dating.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
a lot of questions come about just how do we deal with sex and sexuality as a single, and so how do you handle those temptations as a single, and how do you, the Bible tells us to flee from temptation. How would you answer those questions?
I'll start this one because I clearly know from being in relationships in the past that choosing the right person to be in a relationship makes a huge impact on how you're going to handle the temptation. If I choose someone who is of a like mind and who has those spiritual goals that I do, and who also agrees that sex before marriage is not in God's plan for us, then it's going to be a whole lot easier to manage that temptation because we're on the same team. And obviously there are going to be times when you're tempted, and when there's just situations that are difficult to deal with and that kind of thing. But the likelihood of falling to temptation is way less if you are in agreement on your boundaries and on your standards, and you're of a like mind on that.
Very good.
Yeah. And, the Bible doesn't outline this is what you can do before you're married and this is what you can't do. You can't hold hands, but you can put your arm around him, or, something like that. There's nothing like that. And growing up, I had a lot of good Christian influences that would try to set boundaries as suggestions, but really what it comes down to is if you are seeking God's heart, then you always know whenever you're crossing that boundary, whenever you're in a situation that he wouldn't want you to be in. And one of my Bible study leaders when I was really young, I remember she was quoting the flee from your temptations verse. And she said, that doesn't mean moving across the room or moving to the other couch. That means get up and leave. Just leave. Just say like, okay, good night, and leave. I mean, it's that easy. Get out of the car, do whatever. It's not, fleeing means flee. And that's one of the only times in the Bible, I mean, it's very specific. Flee, get away, leave the area, leave the situation. So that's really good advice, because even if you feel like you're strong enough to be in the face of temptation without giving in, I don't know anybody that's that strong.
So if somebody's asking the question, how far can I go? Can I go to first base or second base or third base or whatever the bases are? Or is oral sex okay? They're really asking the wrong question.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're asking that question, then you're just, you're just trying to see, like, make a deal with God or something, when what your focus should be is making your loving God more than you love the other person, and loving the other person more than you love yourself. Like, that's a very selfish question to ask, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if you're asking the question, you probably already know the answer.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about if you're dating someone, or before that, is it important to be friends with someone before you date them?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I do. I used to think it wasn't, because it seemed like cleaner that way. If I wasn't friends with the person first, we would date, and if it didn't work out, it was like an easy removal from my life. But a lot of those people that I dated that I wasn't friends with, I probably never would have dated them if I had been friends with them first. So it would have been a lot easier emotionally, and just, I don't know, I think it is important. You really get to know someone and know their character by being friends with them.
Okay. What's your perspective, Dan?
Yeah, for my goal for dating is to get to know somebody well enough that I can ultimately make a decision as to whether I want to pursue a lifelong relationship with that person. And so dating somebody that I don't know at all seems a really odd thing to me, because my whole goal is to get to know that person. So I would go with the friend thing, because I already know them somewhat, and I want to deepen my knowledge of that person. So that
There's
makes
so
sense
many
to me.
couples that I talk to that have good marriages, and I say, what is one of the things that you cherish in your marriage? And almost every time it comes up, we're best friends. And so having that foundation of friendship, and then letting that carry into a relationship, and certainly then into a marriage, is really something that people cherish.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's really powerful. Sometimes we hear the words, you need to guard your heart. What does that mean to you?
I can answer that. That's really important to me, and something I've been taught my whole life. And it's just, it's not putting up walls, because for a while I think I thought that is you're putting up emotional barriers and walls and not letting someone get close to you. But it's more than anything just being honest with yourself and honest with God and honest with the other person. And in doing that, you're guarding your heart, because you're not setting expectations. It's more of keeping everything, which one thing Daniel says is keeping things in the light, and that's your relationship in the light, and that's a really good thing to say about it. It's just protecting yourself from unneeded harm, I think.
Yeah.
Would you add anything?
I think I don't really have anything to add about the heart thing, but the keeping in the light, I wanted to expound on that a little bit. I think I've had friends who have been in dating relationships that they try to keep a secret. And my first question is why, what is it about your relationship that you don't want people to know? And usually there's something that they know that's already dysfunctional or doesn't work right, or that maybe that they're doing wrong. And that's why they don't want to keep the relationship out in the open. And I've really found value in exposing my relationships to my friends and family specifically. They always have really good advice and are always pretty good judges of character, and they bring a different perspective than I do. So where I may not be able to see some aspect of a person's personality or their integrity or something like that, usually my friends and family can spot it. So
people that you love and that love you and trust you, really
Yeah.
listening to their input can be very valuable.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very good. What about the whole idea of being equally yoked? Scripture tells us not to be unequally yoked. How does that go in a dating relationship?
I'm really passionate about my spirituality and my relationship with Christ. And Christ has brought me through a lot of things and has really offered me a chance at redemption and a new life. And I clearly recognize that I am the man that I am today because of the redemptive power of Christ. And that I would not be the person that I am today if it were not for that. So that's hugely important to me. And it has to be important to the person that I'm dating. If it's not, then we're not going to agree on how life works. We're not going to agree on how I am or how we should be or how I should be, any of that stuff. It's all based on my relationship with Christ. And so if that's not there, none of it's going to work.
And you would walk away from a relationship.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and to explain that further, you did a good job, but I think some people think being equally yoked means we can go to church together on Sundays, and it doesn't necessarily mean that. I mean, that's a good starting place, but when you really get to know someone, you want to be on the same spiritual wavelength as that person. Them going to church doesn't necessarily mean that they're living their life for God the way that you are. And I mean, I also know I've based people's that I've dated their spiritual life on like their family or friends, but you really need to get to know them. I mean, just because their parents are strong Christians and they've been raised that way doesn't mean that they, like Daniel was saying, really have experienced the redemptive power of Christ. And that's really important. And I think we were saying something about how you can be equally yoked, but bad. You don't want to be, when this goes off of some other things we've already talked about today, but if you're not in the right place spiritually, dating someone else not in the right place spiritually, you're just going to bring each other down. So that's another, you want to be equally yoked in Christ.
On a higher level, not on a lower
Yeah.
level. So what are some dangers that you would say that singles could avoid in dating?
I just have to go back to the dating for the sake of dating or dating because you feel pressure to do so. I've seen too many people get married and look back and realize, wow, I'm not in a good situation, and I didn't do this for the right reasons. I did this because I felt the pressure to, and because I thought it was what I was supposed to do, and it was time for this, and it was just what I needed to do. And so I'm always keen to look out for that danger, the danger of being pressured into something or that kind of stuff. I want to find the person that God has for me, and I want to marry that person, not just a person.
So it's basically, I think you're saying is don't let someone else make your dating agenda for you.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way to sum it up. Yeah.
Yeah. I think something else, a danger is not being yourself. I think you should always be yourself whenever in any relationship, in a friendship, when you're getting to know that person, and then when you're dating too. And I think people aren't fully themselves because they're afraid of something not working out if the other person saw who they really were. And I've dated too many people and have at the end, I remember thinking like, gosh, I feel like I don't even know that person. Like they're not who I thought they were at all. It's just not going to get you anywhere. But if you're completely yourself, I think that's really protecting yourself to do that.
Yeah. That's good. Let's do one final question. You guys have hit around it a lot, but just kind of to hit home with it, how does God, what part does God play in your dating life?
I think the most important thing is trusting God and listening to his voice. I really can't imagine anyone who's seeking God's heart would be dating the wrong person, because I think that God would be telling you, you would have that like kind of unrest about it, and you would just know not to be dating that person, or that you're in a bad situation, and just trusting that God is gonna show you who that person is too. Not that you need to make something work or make something out of something that's not there.
Yeah.
Kind of let go and let God
Yeah.
a little bit. We hear that forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the trust thing is huge. I have been single for a little while now, and I think getting to a point where I trust that God is going to lead me to the right person and is going to make sure that I am taken care of if there isn't a person.
Yeah.
If I am to be single for the rest of my life, which that's not a bad thing, then I need to trust that God has my back and God is here for me and he's the one that I need. And I think that as I've struggled through that journey of realizing God doesn't have someone for me right now, maybe he won't ever, maybe it's just that they're right around the corner. But either way, I have to trust God for satisfying me and being able to live a satisfied life. And I think having focused on that is making me a better person to be in a relationship. So my focus is more on Christ than it ever has been before. And I'm going to bring that into a relationship that I get into if I do get into a relationship someday. So again, God is really a central figure in my life. He has offered me that grace and that redemption and changed me. And so I want him to be at the center of any relationship that I'm in, especially a dating relationship.
That's good, because I think we try sometimes to learn about relationships by getting in more relationships. And the idea of taking a time out to spend time with God and let him mold you is a great way to prepare yourself for what God would bring to you in the future.
It's difficult, but it's a good learning process, I think.
That's good.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Man, I think that realization that if God is not at the center of your life, if God is not at the center of your relationship, if God is not really at the center of everything you do, it's not going to be what you want. It's not going to be the thing that satisfies you. Only God can bring that. And that has been a big realization for me as a single man. And I just hope that everybody has that realization as well.
That's cool. Great point to end on. Daniel, Jacquelyn, thanks so much.
Thank you.